Hello, I'm so glad to have so many people here. We are delighted. On behalf of Pioneer Network, I'm Joan Devine, the Director of Education, and welcome. This is Introducing Artifacts of Culture Change 2.0 and Assisted Living, the first of our 2021 Sharing the Vision series. I'm going to just go through a few logistics before we get started. All webinar attendees, except for the presenters, are muted to maximize the possibility of background noise. If you are calling in from a phone, please be sure you're muted on that end as well. That said, we do love hearing from you. So in your toolbar, you'll find icons for a chat box. You'll see Q&A. There's even some, for those of you who have found it, some funky little icons that you can just give a quick clap or a celebration or a smiley face and give us some quick feedback. You can also raise your hand should you want to ask a question live. Now that said, we're probably going to hold the questions until the end, but don't worry, if you go ahead and put it in as you think of it, and we'll make sure that we come back around to it in the end if we haven't covered it already. Following the webinar, you're going to receive an email, and that's going to have a link to this presentation, copies of the slides, and handout view, which we thank Amanda for finding the error in the slides, and we got those fixed for everybody. And then in addition to the webinar and all the materials, they're going to be posted on the Pioneer Network website. So let your friends know about it too. So Pioneer Network is pleased to have so many people joining us for this official launch of Artifacts 2.0. And so without further delay, I'm pleased to turn things over to two remarkable individuals, Carmen Bowman and Karen Schoeneman.
So this is Karen Schoeneman. I am so pleased to be with you all my culture change colleagues and friends and even cousins. Carmen Bowman and I have been working on this project a long time, and we're ready to go. So Carmen, why don't you start off with your poll?
All right, Joan. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Have you ever completed the original artifacts tool? We want to take a quick poll. Your choices are nope, never, maybe 1 to 2 times. How about 3 to 5 times? And has anyone actually been involved in filling them out or it out 6 or more times? All right. Someone's telling us in chat, yes, 6 times or more than 6. That's great. Joan, how many times have you filled it out? All right, Joan, do you want to?
There's the result of the poll. And yes, Carmen, I filled it out lots of times with lots of communities.
I don't see them. Do you?
Do you see the results?
Not yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. Appreciate it. Okay. Well, the majority have never. It's okay. We get it. Then we have the highest next percentage, 1 to 2 times. And the ties, 9%, 3 to 5, and 6 or more. Thank you so much for that. And with that, we'll move on. Thanks, everyone.
So I'd like to talk to you about the original artifacts. It was released in 2006, but what happened before that? In the early 2000s, nursing homes were getting excited about culture change. They were hearing about it, and they would go home, usually from a Pioneer conference, wanting to know, well, what should we do now? So they had become acquainted with the philosophy of changing from institution to home, which would include residents being well known as individuals instead of treated alike, increased resident decision-making over their own lives. The policies and practices would be looked at to reflect culture change everywhere, throughout everything that's going on. The physical environment would be looked at, trying to get it closer to home. And then, of course, there's training for team members, both to unlearn institutional ways of talking and working and to learn culture change ways. So one home would be doing something, another home would be doing something else, and they sort of wanted to gauge their progress. This is the reason that CMS was able to, in the Division of Nursing Homes, to fund the development of the original artifacts. Carmen and I developed it and released it in 2006 as a CMS product.
So what has happened in the last 15 years, everybody? Well, we're happy to report and thank the Pioneer Network that thanks to the Pioneer Network, it was automated And thanks to people like Amy Elliott, a home could complete it online and use those results to compare itself to itself, use it as a benchmark originally, and then use it in subsequent completions. We also had the capability that a home could compare themselves with homes in their state as well. And then, don't know if any of you know this, but over the last 3-ish years, we've had a multi-year project. The Pioneer Network did get a CMP grant from the state of Maryland, and we started in fall of 2018. And today is not only the webinar, but we're releasing the new tool today.
So we are so excited. Wow. Now, how did this get developed? This 2.0, the expansion of artifacts. The project involved, as Carmen said, it took well over 2 years. It involved lots of discussions with culture changing homes and organizations and researchers and other individuals, and especially with users of the original tool had, you bet, something to say about some of the items and the scoring and all that stuff. And we developed an advisory group of 25 organizations, and including CMS and the culture change organizations and pretty much everybody else you could think of, even the VA. We decided as we were creating then, and here you see the first page of the 2.0, that we wanted to include CMS guidance for some of the items. And after we got a draft, we pilot tested, we changed it again, and then we pilot tested again. So what you're looking at here now, as I said, people had comments about scoring. There used to be numeric points, and they turned out to be issues of complaint among people or fighting among culture change teams or desiring to score more points than they had. So we decided the points weren't doing us any good. What we decided, for each item on this whole tool, there would be 3 choices. And I know the picture on screen is a little small to see, but here's what the 3 choices are. Fully implemented. This is present on a routine basis, or at least it's available for everybody. Partially implemented, present on less than a routine basis or for less than all people, or we just don't have it. It's not a current practice. After the tool is completed, to go all the way down through each of the 3 columns and total the number of check marks on the fully, partially, and no blocks. And after you get all done with that, you will see, gee, we have some items that we might like to change that we don't have now. So we decided during the project, we were hearing from some assisted living providers and talking with them. And we decided, although there's going to be great similarity between the items or the practices on the tools, we thought it would be easier and more honoring for assisted living if they had their own tool, that they didn't have to go to the nursing home tool and then ignore some of the language. So having their own tool, Artifacts of Culture Change AL, it's not a 2.0, it's like the first ever. It considers some differences between the 2 settings, such as removing some nursing home specific practices, some CMS references that are only for nursing homes that participate with CMS regulations, and adding some language, room and apartment, service or care plan. That's the way the new tool is. So you don't have to worry about the nursing home tool if you are in an assisted living. You pull your own tool.
So how did it turn out regarding the setup of the tool? The sections, everyone, turned out to be the following, and we're going to give you examples here in a minute of each one. Resident directed life, being well known, home environment and accommodation of needs and preferences, family and community, and leadership and team member engagement.
So we're going to go through and give you just a little flavor of some items in each of these 5 categories. So we'll start with this resident directed life. New residents and families are welcomed both by team members and managers, which includes showing them what amenities are present, explaining the culture change methods that you have there, etc. Defaulting to the regular diets as an item. Going to real foods first instead of medical supplements like, well, you know, the supplements. Different dining styles, buffet and restaurant style and all the rest. Looking to natural awakening rather than everybody needs to get up at a certain time to be off to the dining room at a certain time. And having residents sort of more in charge of all their schedule choices, not just waking up, but times they do things and eat and even go to bed. Resident participation in the home's decisions about the home. So it's not just resident-directed life. I have a resident-directed life. It's I have a voice in everything that's going on in this home, whether it's a decor change, a menu change, in the terms of nursing homes, a QAPI project. Then there's such things in there, a little couple teasers, volunteering, residents considered to be volunteers, and pets actually living in the home. That's dogs and cats for the most part.
So we're going to do another fun poll, everyone. If you represent a home, a nursing home, or an assisted living community, would you please have fun with us with this poll? So in the community or home you represent, dogs and cats, do they reside in your building? Do they visit, or are there none? So we'll just take this poll and have fun with this. And we realize not all of you represent a home or a community at the moment.
We're getting lots of responses.
Yep, just give us a minute, everybody.
Still ticking away. We have over 200 people with us, so it takes a little time.
Wow.
Okay, I think we're slowing down, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And here you go, Carmen. Here's the results.
All right, so 34% reside in the building. That's great, everybody. Animals visit, 53%, and no animals, 13%. Thank you for doing that with us. All right, so the next section, everyone, is being well known. Here we have just, again, some examples. So we've added to the tool the importance of finding out each resident's life story, but also what their current interests and preferences are, and making sure that's included in their service or care plan. Also that we understand individuals who can't talk to us, communicate verbally.
Whoops, Carmen, we lost your sound there for just a
But
second.
we learn what they need and what they prefer anyway, and that too. Oh boy, shoot. Sorry, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah,
No?
we can.
Okay, great. So the idea of learning each resident's life story, but also what their current interests and preferences are, and making sure that's in their service or care plan. Understanding those who can't talk to us verbally, and knowing them well anyway, and getting that preference information in the care plan or service plan. Also, the service or care plan is very specific to the person, period, and it reflects each resident's own goals. This is a wonderful point, because CMS has now added a lot of language about making sure you have the residents' goals. Also, we've included that in your system of being well known, that you find out for each person what their domains of well-being mean to them. So we're referring to the Eden Alternative Domains of Well-being. And if you didn't know, this is now included also in CMS guidance. What a big win. And those 7 domains are identity, connectedness, security, meaning, autonomy, growth, and joy. Wow. Also, that a person's service or care plan would address movement for them, increased movement. It's so important. Music for them, getting outdoors, what that means for them, what meaning and purpose means for them, and how they would define what they need for a good night's sleep. And then we also included that all this good information that hopefully is on the service or care plan is also conveyed to the team work plan. So whether that's whatever system in the home, a Cardex system, an assignment system, or just plain looking at the care plan. Oh, and next poll, because this was one of those in that section, let's do how important will it be for you to get outside when you live in a nursing home or an assisted living? So please join us in taking this poll. If you see yourself living in a home or community, will it be very important, somewhat important, or not important at all to get outside?
That even includes in this crazy weather.
That's right. You know, we've learned some people like going out even when it's cold.
Okay, I think we've slowed down. So I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. And here you go.
All right. Yay. Very important. That seems to be a lot of us, everyone, and it sort of reflects it. It's 94% very important, 6% somewhat, and nobody said not important at all. That's just very interesting. Thank you, everyone.
So now let's continue on with another one of the sections. This one has a long name. We decided we needed to put home environment and accommodation of needs together because they had such similarities. We thought we'd just throw them all in here. So it has a lot of things, but first it talks about, do you have any people living in smaller group living settings, whether it's houses, greenhouses, neighborhoods, households, what do you have there and what's in your household? Then there's just a lot of random items that got in here that are about either home environment or accommodation. Toiletries being within reach is a good one. Extra lighting. If you want to sit and read in your easy chair in your room, do you have a floor lamp that you can put right near your book? Porch lights instead of institutional call lights make the ambiance so much sweeter. Normal plateware. You know, it used to be a big issue and even questions to CMS about, could we actually have a salt shaker on a table? People were so worried about it. I hope over 15 years, we have gotten to realize you can have a salt shaker, maybe even hot sauce. And then there's outlets within reach. So if you're in a wheelchair or standing and you can't bend over very well, where's the outlet? Is it way down by the floor, or can you actually reach it and plug something in? In a culture-changing home, paging has gone silent. And as Carmen says, there's easy access to the outdoors. Not only that there is an outdoors, that there are some activities outdoors, but how do I get out through the door? I see some places are putting in what I call sort of like grocery store automatic doors. And others are just making sure the staff are nearby, they can just let somebody out. The last one on this section is the residents are welcomed and assisted to access amenities. So if they want to get a cup of coffee at 3 p.m. or even 10 o'clock at night, do they know where to go? Do they know how to work the Keurig pot or whatever kind of pot there is? And so there's not only they can get there, but they know they can get help if they need to.
I just have to share, one time I saw a dog living in a nursing home go to the blue square button, press it, and let himself outside. There's a nice combination of dogs, cats, and easy access to outdoors, huh? So how about some family and community examples, everyone? The idea of helping residents as much as they would like to be a part of their community, actually belonging to clubs or volunteering at the animal shelter or homeless shelter, as well, taking part in community events, the fairs and parades, all the different ball games, concerts, etc. Having a cafe or a restaurant where residents and any families or visitors can get the food and drink and, you know, dine together daily. Also the idea of a store or shop where people can get gifts and toiletries and snacks, etc. Also supporting and having the idea where a kitchen of some sort is available, an activity kitchen, the kitchen in the household, even the therapy apartment kitchen where residents and families are welcome to do some baking or cooking and helping that person be well known in that sense for things that they're famous for making. And we took it one step further and added to this item that the home notifies everyone of its availability, taking it up a notch. Also, we added that the home actively solicits whatever family members think about things, their views, and makes it a point to treat them as a partner in care instead of just a visitor.
So now we get to a very important section with a lot of new things in it. In fact, there's so many new things that we're actually going to do 4 slides just on this section. So I'm going to take the first couple. Now, We always assumed this was true, but we didn't say it in the actual artifacts, which is the leaders commit themselves to culture change and they know something. They keep themselves educated about the features of culture change, resident-directed living, projects that are successfully being done, and then they pass on the information to teams and residents, and of course their families are listening in too. Then the leaders need to remove barriers to culture change. Those are usually institutional practices that are old, that come from like 50 years ago. The kind of thing where you say, well, this is how we do it here. This is how we write a clinic note. This is how we get up people in the morning. And something about moving toward home, you have to erase some of the institutional ways of thinking, and the leader has to make that happen. Now, beyond the administrator, there's high-level managers in some chains, and lots of places have boards. And so they need to be involved and on board, educated, and also committed to it, because some things are going to cost. They're going to cost some cash, or they're going to cost some team member time as they participate in meetings and projects. We thought, would it be a good idea if the annual evaluations of everybody who works there have a culture change section? The policies should have culture change thinking in them. Hiring, people who are coming to be hired, we need to figure out if they're right, and they need to figure out what kind of a place is this? What do we do here that's different? What is this culture change thing? Team members need to be periodically educated. Projects, successes, what we found in artifacts, all sorts of things going on. And the last one on this slide is teaching people some of the things we say are institutional language and they don't need to be. And so that could be periodic sort of a referral to what's the non-institutional way we have of talking and also writing, even signs. So on to the next slide about this section. There's cross-training of people to become CNAs in a nursing home setting, or to basically help out. There are career ladders for those positions that have a ladder, a 1, 2, 3, or a sort of a leader that the home is encouraging people who want to do that. Consistent staffing, that's been around a long time in the culture change movement. Consistent staffing without rotation means without scheduled rotation. Of course, if people go on vacation and they need to take their child to the dentist, et cetera, what goes along with it, and the reason it's in the same bullet, is self-scheduling by the team members themselves, so they can cover for each other, they can figure it out. And frankly, there is no rule. There's no CMS rule. I don't think there's any state rule that says you have to have 3 shifts and here's what hours they are. And so if you want to organize your staff around the dining experience, the getting up experience, how many people at night and day, you don't have to stick with those 3 shifts anymore. Have the staff who are doing self-scheduling figure it out. The homes that are successful really have a volunteer coordinator in addition to the activity director. I was fortunate to work in a home that had a full-time coordinator who was out soliciting volunteers, training volunteers. Some volunteers were family and residents, some were outside parties. She was out soliciting donations from fire companies and churches and everybody. And it's really a big job. Then the last one is a troubleshooter. This is a team member assigned to 1 or 2 residents only to ensure that things that are needing to get done for residents are getting done across teams and departments, and that they are keeping up with resident and family wishes and comments. This doesn't replace social service. This is in addition to a social service person who might have 60 or 100 residents to take care of. This is, I am the troubleshooter or the advocate or even the concierge for John Jones, and John needs these things. How are we doing on that? Is this progressing? A lot of times things are progressing, but nobody told the resident they're progressing, but they're not finished yet. So this is a new concept that is something that I hope you'll look into.
So some more examples, same section. We've made it its own item that education is a priority for all team members, and they keep learning and gaining knowledge about these ideas of culture change. Karen mentioned performance evaluations have some sort of component with culture change. Also, team members know the culture change philosophy of the home and how it plays out in their work. Also, the schedules actually revolve around the people who live there instead of the institution. And then next, this deserved its own slide. It couldn't be culture change if we didn't include learning circles. And we want to thank Lorene Norton of Action Pack for bringing this to the movement. This can be any group. This can be any group of people, any topic. Most of you know this, but in case you don't, any topic can be discussed, but any crosstalk or group discussion is just merely saved till the end so that we can hear from one another. It honors people who might be reluctant to speak up, and it reins in those who might speak up a lot. And the beauty is not only do we hear from one another, but we actually learn from one another. And then similarly, it wouldn't be a culture change tool if we didn't include the community meeting brought to us by the Barkins and the Live Oak Institute. So if you don't know about them, wow, personally, I highly recommend them. They are held intentionally, typically daily, to be honest, and it's for everyone, the whole community, residents, team members, families, as they are able, where we gather together truly as this community, and we use it on purpose to build connections with one another. And so what's happening, you're discussing things that you all care about, things that are going on in your home, things you're concerned about. You're celebrating things, maybe landmark life events for people who live there and work there, and birthdays for not only residents, but also team members. It's so fun to honor people in these ways. It's so special to give the mic to the resident, the new resident or the new team member, and have them tell a little bit about themselves. Sometimes you're remembering or mourning over someone who's passed away, or maybe you're saying goodbye before someone moves away. It's a place to acknowledge things like progress, someone's walking again, or someone's back from the hospital. It's a neat way to honor people's different roles in the building. Maybe someone is a jokester in your midst, or the person who on their own greets people at the front door. I just have to say, Beth Ertz is on the line. I watched her do this many years ago. As the administrator, everyone, she put up the policy for preventing pressure sores, and she spoke in layman's terms to the residents and reminded them, this is why we might encourage you to lay down or get up or eat more protein or drink more or eat more, because we don't want you to get any. It's a beautiful forum to help to give residents the option to plan their futures. That's something that's missing in institutional living. And then, of course, anything the community decides to do. And I just want to say thank you to many of you online. I hope you can see your influence on this new tool, and thank many of you for helping to create these practices to begin with.
So how is the artifacts tool used? First of all, it's internal. If you work in a place, in a long-term care setting, a nursing home, or especially in assisted living, one or the other, it's for you to self-assess. Nobody's going to come behind you and wonder how you filled out something. It is just an educational thing to help guide you to topics you may not think of. It's good at the beginning of a culture change effort. It's also good periodically, maybe annually. Maybe when something big has changed, you can note changes because of what you just did. You can note changes on, wow, we just had 5 things that moved over to fully implemented. This is great. We ought to celebrate. Let's have a party. One of the uses is that for many items, they may be easy to figure out if you have it or don't have it, or you partially have it. But for other items, there may be differences of opinion of management and team members and residents and families as to whether a practice is present or not. I think Carmen and I both have seen it happen that a high-level leader has filled out the old artifacts tool. I call it old because it was the original, and it is getting old. And the administrator was just sure that they had all these things. But when we would ask the residents, they would say, they don't do that for me. And the family members would also say the same. So the reason for gathering together a committee to do this of different shifts and different departments or teams and a resident and family input too, is to go over those differences of opinion and find out what's really true. Sometimes management is surprised that something's not happening. Here's a very short example. It's not even about culture change. I was in a nursing home with a survey team, and the administrator and DON were proudly showing us their new pressure ulcer treatment protocol. They even had a great big whiteboard poster of the new thing. We then walked down the hall to the other end of the hall where we saw there were staff to talk to, and they all claimed not to ever have heard of this practice. So what the high level thought was truly disseminated, given out, and in use actually wasn't in use in the same hallway that they were actually in. So these differences of opinion, I hope they don't break out as fights. They should break out as we need to go check on this so we can do that item. So part of it is the uses that we created it in the first place, and we adapted it or enlarged it now is for inspiration. For all of these things that are on this tool have been successfully done by culture changing homes. So it's your education of, wow, look at that. Somebody has actually done it. These are not pie in the sky wishes. These are successful practices to inspire. It's an implementation tool. After you get it done and all the check marks are counted up, then you can see, well, here's some things we should do. Let's tell everybody too. Let's tell everybody how this came out, how this resulted as we did this artifacts tool. And we also think, besides for the home, we know there have been a lot of researchers using the original artifacts for research projects before and after some culture change intervention is done. We hope that the researchers will look at this new set of tools for nursing homes and assisted livings and find they may be good to have for research projects. So this concludes Carmen and me talking for a while, and I think next will be the executive director, Penny Cook, who's going to talk you through the new guidance resource pages.
Well, thank you so much, Karen and Carmen. And I just want to say thank you now, not only for them doing this webinar for us, but for being consultants and really the designers of this tool for this project. And I know our other team member, Amy Elliott, is on the line too. Karen and Carmen mentioned Amy earlier, but she was another integral team member on this project. So thanks to all three of you for completing this journey with us for the past, now 3 years. So Karen and Carmen have walked you through a bit of the history and the tool itself. So I just want to let you know where this information lies on the Pioneer Network website. For those of you who are familiar with the original Artifacts of Culture Change tool, you may also be familiar with the fact that it had its own website. And communities could go on that site, complete the tool, and they could do that benchmarking that was talked about earlier. When we devised this project and developed it for the proposal with the state of Maryland, we thought we were going to do the same thing. And then midway through, our thought process changed and thought, why don't we just house it on the Pioneer Network website? And that's what we decided to do. And along with that, we did a lot of other things that you heard about. We developed the assisted living tool as well. And we also developed some guidance. So we thought during a few minutes here, we would actually show you our website and where you can find all this wonderful information, and also a bit about what's still coming. So let's go to the website. And what you'll see is that the Artifacts of Culture Change is actually under the Tools and Resources tab. If we could just circle around that, thank you, Joan. It's under the Tools and Resources tab. That tab used to be our resource library. We've now changed it to 3 things. We have the Artifacts of Culture Change. You can see these on the left, the Resource Library, and on-demand videos. On the Artifacts of Culture Change tab, you'll see that we have the purpose of the tool itself, and really a lot of what Carmen and Karen just talked about. And then if you scroll down, you have the choice of looking at the self-assessment for nursing homes or the self-assessment for assisted living communities. And let's click on the self-assessment for nursing homes. We've allowed you two options here. You can either complete this tool online, or you could download the forms and the guidance, which you can either click on the See the Self-Assessment Tools or go down at the bottom. And you can do it with your whole culture change team. As Karen was talking about the uses of the tool, it really is best to complete it as a team. And we wanted to give you a few different options to be able to do that. But you can also complete it online because that might be easier for your community. And that gives you a way, it does all of the scoring for you and the tallying for you. So let's look at what it says when we begin the online self-assessment. You can put in your community's name, where it is, the state, the number of residents. And just so you know, at any time through this process, you can save your work and continue it later. It will just ask you for an email address, and then it will give you the ability to go back to that form and complete it where you left off. But if you hit next, you'll see the form itself and the questions with the form. And all of the different sections that Carmen and Karen talked about are in this form. Not only does it have the question, but if you click on the word description, and just so you know, this site just went live yesterday. These pages just went live yesterday. So we're still doing some tweaking. So the wording might be a little different if you go back in a week or so, but this gives you the basics of the form on the website. But you'll see that there's a description for some of the questions. We wanted to make sure that all of the information that we presented in these questions and these statements was understandable. So if there was some language or wording or practices that we thought needed some more explanation, that's going to be in this description or guidance. And then you have the choice to answer whether something's fully implemented, partially implemented, or not a current practice. One of the things that the description will also give you on the nursing home tool is the CMS citation of the regulation, so that you can see specifically what regulation this particular practice or concept is referring to. So you can complete this form online. Thank you, Joan, for that. You can complete this form online, and we're not going to go through the whole form, but I think, Joan, if you keep clicking next at the bottom, we can get to the last page. One of the things that we wanted to make sure is that you didn't have to fill out every question in order to get to the next page, because some of those questions you may need to talk to the rest of the Culture Change Committee. You may actually just want to see all the questions first, and we wanted to give you the ability to do that. Finish and see results. So basically what's going to happen is any of the information that you populated will be in this section. And if you scroll down, you'll be able to see your score. So this is an easy way to be able to complete this online and also get that guidance, those descriptions of the particular questions. Now, Joan, if we go back to the tabs on the left, under the Artifacts tab, we can see the assisted living version as well, if we go to that, just to highlight a few more things. So if we go to the bottom of this page to the self-assessment tools for assisted living, you'll see that we have the downloadable PDF version of the self-assessment form. So let's click on that. This gives you the hard copy of the tool that you can print out. So for instance, if you are having that group of people, which we recommend to help complete this form, you can print this out and give it to everyone. And so you can all be on the same page and know beforehand, even going in to your first meeting of the Culture Change Committee or the group of people that you have, what all the questions are. And you'll see that it's very similar to, actually the questions are exactly the same as the online form. Now, the other cool thing that we did with this project is if you go back to the website, Joan, and we click on the guidance at the bottom.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. The supplementary guidance.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have something over my screen. Sorry. There we go.
You have so many tabs sometimes. So the guidance you see here on the online version is what you saw in that description section. And we probably are going to change that word description to guidance so that that matches. But for all of those questions that you might have some questions about what the certain practices mean, this is where you can find the answers to that. Again, so for instance, Carmen was talking about learning circles. That's something here that we put into the guidance. So if you've never done a learning circle before, you haven't been exposed to that idea, you can actually find out what that is right in the guidance section. So we really think that that's going to be helpful for everyone as you complete the forms. Now, if we go back to the website itself, I want to let you know about some exciting things that we have planned. So one of the things we were able to do as we revised this part of our website is we have a new resource library, if we want to click on that. For those of you who have accessed our resource library before, you'll notice that some of the categories are the same. You might notice some of the same pictures if you're on here a lot. But what we decided to do is really revamp the resources that we have. And we have hard copy or downloadable PDF and toolkit resources on this page. And then we have an on-demand video section that has videos and webinars as well. And what we're going to be doing as a next step in this process is we're actually going to link the resources to the sections of the artifacts tool. So if you want more information, for instance, on leadership, we have a leadership section on the website, and we will be able to link those resources directly to the artifacts site. So you'll have an easy way to get the resources that you need and want to not only help you complete the tool, but give you an idea of what to do. And then the other very exciting thing is that Karen and Carmen have been working hard to develop videos to help you with the artifacts tool itself. So that's going to be, and I know we have a slide for that because we have the different areas that we'll be able to show you. But we're developing videos to make sure that you have some resources just on how to complete the tool, on the different sections of the tool as well. So we really think that those videos are going to be helpful. What's the difference between the nursing home tool, the assisted living tool? And then hopefully what's very important is the frequently asked questions.
Thank you, Penny, for the great preview of the new tools and resources page on our website and for showing everyone how to navigate the site to find not only the assessment tools, but some great resources. We had lots of questions today. Karen and Carmen, along with Amy Elliott, will be providing written answers to your questions, and you'll be able to find them on a document that will be included in the resources you'll be receiving tomorrow. And we know that there will be more questions. So here's some great information, how to contact Karen and Carmen. On behalf of Pioneer Network, I would like to once again thank Karen and Carmen, not only for presenting this webinar, but for their leadership in the work to bring Artifacts 2.0 to life. And Penny, thank you again for that virtual tour. We can't wait to hear everyone's stories as you go back to your communities and use this tool. And so the question is, what comes next? In approximately 24 hours, you'll be receiving an email with the webinar recording and materials and another chance to complete the survey in case you missed it. But there's more. Within a week, the recording and all the supporting documents will be available in the on-demand section of the Pioneer Network tools and resources. And you all know how to find that now. And of course, before we leave, we do want to share a few things with you. We hope that you'll be able to join us in March for the first of 4 one-day symposiums being held in 2021, designed around the theme, Envisioning the Future. For the first one, you can see that we have an incredible lineup of speakers and topics exploring lessons learned. Following the 4 general sessions, attendees will have the opportunity to join the general session speakers and your peers in one of the 4 interactive sessions, Let's Talk, where the conversation will continue. And of course, the day's events will all be recorded and available on demand, so you can even check out the Let's Talk sessions that you missed. And have you heard about our latest educational offering, Listen, Learn, Explore? Episode 2, Do You Know Your Residents, with Dr. Lynn McNichol, is available now and features a podcast in which Dr. McNichol shares insights on an array of COVID-related issues such as brain fog, delirium, and sepsis, showing how a person-centered lens can make a world of difference in supporting the care of elders. Check out the event page on Pioneer Network's website for links to the podcast and to register to join the virtual learning circle on Thursday, February 25th. And as you might have noticed, compassionate leadership was one of the topics for the March Symposium, and such a great topic that we feel it needs more exploration. And so for our April Growing Person-Centeredness webinar, we're bringing together 3 compassionate leaders in our field to share their stories about what compassionate leadership looks like in action. And so I'd just like to close by once again thanking Karen and Carmen for a great presentation, and all of you for sharing your time with us. We would love to hear your stories as you complete the Artifacts of Culture Change self-assessments and begin using the resources to continue on your culture change journey. Wishing everyone a good day, and please be safe.